What up, family? CTR Media Network. Yeah. Best in the biz. Yeah. Join the team. CTR is who we are, the media network, that's the best by far. Whether you listen at your home, at your job, in your car, come get the information that's needed above par. Never lasting, motivational podcasting, giving you the answers to the questions that you're asking. Serious talks and topics, how to come up and profit, how to better yourself. Your health is here, we got it. Reaching 350 million, they tuning in. We in 50 different countries, we all can. And like-minded, find your purpose and your assignment. Come get your fix, your feel, your mental alignment. Get active and speak to the masses. Build your influence, all levels and all classes. Now you know you can monetize and grow. CTR Media Network, start the show.
The Vera Tommy Show. The Vera Tommy Show. The Vera Tommy Show. The Vera Tommy Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Tommy Show. Let's talk about it.
Hello. I'm excited to be here again today with a wonderful guest. She's known as Grandma Gardner. So I'm going to pull her up. Hello. How are you today?
Hello.
Patrice?
I am doing wonderful, and I'm just so happy to be here with you today and with your audience.
And I'm so happy that you are here. And what I'm going to do is take a few minutes and share a little bit about you.
All right.
Patrice Porter, the gardening grandma, is a master cultivator who nurtures the timeless art of gardening while sowing the seeds of survival skills in future generations. With her expertise, she not only teaches the art of growing fresh and nourishing foods, but also tends to the growth of resilient families as a dedicated parent support coach. Patrice is also the author of the book series, Bringing Out the Potential of Children, and co-author of the #1 bestseller book, No Problem Parenting, Raising Your Kudos with More Confidence and Less Fear. So I am excited to have you here. And what I'm going to do right now is give you the floor and let you share with our audience, one, what drives you, why you have this passion for gardening and working with children and their parents, and where did you get this from? Tell us about your journey.
All right. Well, gardening is something that has served me very well, and I've always had a garden of some sort, whether it was the backyard gardens of our family home, or the big acreages when I lived out on the farm. And it's just been a passion of me. I've done tons of research, and it's just served me really, really well. And being able to share that with other folks, it warms my heart. And with the kids, I was an educational associate for 15 years, worked with the young kids in a program that they used to call the Play and Exploration Program. And it was something that I really, really loved. And I was in a position where I could see that potential in the children and nurture it and just watch the kids blossom. And nothing warmed my heart more than seeing the kids blossom. And so that idea of bringing out the potential of children, I wanted to share my knowledge and expertise and work. And when I had fallen in love with the medium of books, and I had actually worked with Dr. Jeffrey Lant. We held a writing course with him, and he is a true master of the craft of writing. And so I fell in love with the medium of books and wrote that book series, bringing out the potential of children, with the idea that I could use the medium of books and share my knowledge and expertise. And the first couple of volumes, like it was volume 1 was bringing out the potential of children, writers, authors. And then that came from working with Dr. Lant and the writing course, developing that writing course, and then bringing out the potential of children gardeners, because gardening has just been a real passion of mine. And the third one was bringing out the potential of children cooks and chefs. And for this volume, because cooking, like I'm a decent enough cook, but I bought in an expert there, executive chef, and that worked with kids. And so I pulled out all her knowledge and expertise along with mine and put it into that book. And the other book was, it's not kudos, bringing out the potential, or no problem parenting, how to raise your kiddos with more confidence and less fear. So
thanks for correcting me.
Yeah. And then after, like, I worked for 15 years with the kids there. And because my passion again was gardening, and I fell in love with course creation as a way of sharing your knowledge and expertise, and developed that Got Dirt Gardening for Kids program. And then after I retired, I still wanted to keep working with the kids. And so I had my Got Dirt Gardening for Kids program. And I also developed like the Fabulous Family Futures program, working with the kids through the families. And that was all about, I think all through my career and in my courses, and books, it's having the kids growing to their greatest potential. I mean, human potential to me is fascinating.
It is. And you and I both work with parents and their kids, and there's nothing like seeing them blossom and become all that God intended them to be. So let me ask you, tell us about how gardening builds that character and makes them recognize. So tell us about that.
Well, really, like there's in that chapter of the No Problem Parenting book, it was actually, I had listed and expounded on 10 different life lessons that you can find while gardening. And the first thing, you've got to tweak the kids' interests. If you just say, wow, we're going to do gardening, a lot of people think of it as just a chore. So if you can tweak their interests, like my niece wanted me to teach my grandnieces. And so the first thing I do with the kids is I ask them, like, what type of garden do you want to have? And I'll give some examples, like fairy gardens, pirate gardens, or a garden that's just overflowing with a bounty of garden goodies. And so I asked my grandniece this, and she says, I want a Halloween garden.
Oh my.
And I said, well, okay. And I knew like there was these pumpkins that have a white skin. They're called the Lumina pumpkins. And I said, well, we can have ghost pumpkins. And so it looks like ghosts in the pumpkin patch. And then she said, well, I want sweets in my garden. And I had a stevia plant, which is actually 10 times sweeter than sugar.
Yeah.
So I made a cutting for her. So she had her sweets. And then she said she wanted a black cat. And I just happened to have a black cat silhouette. So we added that to her garden. And, but I mean, if you can tweak their interests that way and get them so that they're interested in wanting to garden. And then the next thing I encourage, like I love to have the parents gardening with their kids. Like it's a terrific bonding experience.
Yeah.
But let the kids take on some of the responsibility and like even let them have it be a garden of their own. You know, that they have ownership over it, and then they naturally take on that responsibility. And so that was one of the life lessons, was responsibility. But also in gardening, I find it really fosters independence.
Okay.
And so, yeah. And so, and like, I know, like often a lot of the activities that we have our kids doing, that it's more for entertainment or like they're playing, but it's, if you can, with gardening, you're actually teaching a life skill of being able to grow their own food. And when it's the child that's bringing in the harvest and adding to the food supply, the family food table, you know, then they're contributing to the family food supply. Like they're contributing members now.
Yes. And you know, right now, gardening, especially because of the food deserts that's all over everywhere, I know there's an encouragement for people to begin to do their own gardening. And in my opinion, by doing your own gardening, you're going to have more healthy food. And so, you know, and so so talk about that. And I know you live in Canada, right?
I do. I live right in the boreal forest. It's a beautiful spot here, and I'm an avid nature lover too. So
that's awesome. Now, are there many food deserts in your area as well?
Well, you know, it's funny. Like where I live, I see abundance around me. Like I'm surrounded by a forest, and I know like all the wild harvesting the wild edibles and but I always thought, you know, if you were to bring someone like a child that grew up in the inner city and bought them out here, they would starve to death. Yet I see abundance. I see abundance around here, and I like the children too. Like if they learn how to garden and grow their own food, and like you can take a package of seed, and it costs like, you know, a couple of bucks, and it can produce like that abundance of produce there, and letting the children start to appreciate that bounty of the land, you know, and develop a healthy food culture, like eating real food.
Yeah.
And if they grow it themselves, they're more likely to eat it too. So parents out there, you know.
Absolutely. Now, there are some ways that, say for instance, with the inner city, and the fact that there may not be much land around to, in fact, build a garden, but there are other ways that you can do that, right?
Oh yeah. Like I actually have a book on my site. It's Gardening with Kids Playbook, but it gives all like the step by step to get gardening. But the in one of the tips, it's building your own soil. And this is a way too to keep all the like your scraps out of the landfills, like all your kitchen scraps. If you can compost it. And so that you can actually build your own soil. And I give recipes in that book and everything for building your own soil. So even if you've just got a paved area, you can make raised beds. And if you can't afford to bring dirt in or be buying the dirt, just start saving your food scraps. And another one, like in the fall, for those that, well, like we live in the more northern areas, and the areas where the trees drop their leaves, that makes wonderful dirt. It breaks down and composts, and that's what nature does. Like it's dropping the leaves, and it starts to build up the soil for the next season of growth. And so,
as you are talking, I'm typing this stuff in here. And so raised beds, create your own compost, leaves in the fall.
Yep.
Gather
Yep.
them.
And yeah. And you can make like, even if you don't have space for having a big compost pile with all the leaves you're collecting and everything, you can actually let them break down in just like a garbage bag, and they will break down over the winter. You add a little bit of moisture in there and a few holes, and they'll start to break down.
Okay,
and
so
turn into dirt.
Wow. So when you talk about compost from like leftover foods and stuff like that, is that
Yeah.
what you? So
Yeah, like all those kitchen scraps. Like for me, like I've got lots of space, so I've got a bucket under the kitchen sink where I put in all, like when I peel my carrots, when I preparing my vegetables, my fruit peelings or apple peelings or whatever, apple cores, all of this. And so you can put that in. And two, if you've got a little bit of wild space or an area where it might be kind of weedy or whatever, you can actually, any growing green material, you can take that and add it to your compost, like chop it up and add that in to keep building up. So and let it break down into soil. Like there is sites, and again, in that at my website, that Garden with Kids playbook, it directs you to a place for kids composting and get you going on that. And really too, like that's a big thing too, like so much of our soil has been depleted. And so if you can start building up some soil and growing your plants, they're much, much more nutritious, and you're getting a lot more bang for your buck if you're growing it in good soil.
Yes. And this is such an important topic because given how unhealthy we are overall, being able to know that we can plant our own food, that we can embrace even creating our own soil.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
And really too, like even if you don't have a place for making some raised beds outside, a real quick instant garden is making sprouts on the countertop. You can have sprouts in 6 days to add to your salads, or one of the projects we did. Well, one of the projects we used to do with the pre-K kids is that we grow sunflower seeds, sprout them, and so that it has a layer of compost or some dirt, and then the kids would put a handfuls of sunflower seeds on there, and then you put another layer of dirt over them. And then we had a covering for that tray, and you put them in a warm spot. On top of the fridge works really good. It's a warmer spot there. And in 6 days, they're starting to pop their heads out. And it's at that beginning stage when they've just popped their shells off. That's the stage where you can start eating them. And the kids love picking all these. I got so many sunflower seeds. Like sunflower seed sprouts, like they love cutting them and bring them to me. They would say, "Here, Mrs. Porter, here's some more sprouts for you." And like I wanted them to eat them more, and like they like eating them some, and we put them on like bagels and cream cheese and put their sprouts on, but they just love being involved in that growing process, you know. And like gardening and kids is such a natural match. You know, they've got that awe and wonder, and to see a garden seed grow into a food producing plant, like it's a miracle, really. It's a miracle. And there's a really great quote from Robert Brault, and he says, "Why try to explain miracles to a child when you can just teach them how to garden?"
Wow, I love that quote.
Yeah.
That is a great quote. Why teach a child miracles when they can say that again?
Why try to explain miracles to a child when you can just teach them how to garden? That's Robert Brault. And you know, the kids seem to have that natural awe and wonder. And if you join in with your kids out in the garden,
yes,
and you can start to revitalize some of that awe and wonder too.
Yes. And you said Robert, how do you spell his last name?
Brault, like vault, but with a BR.
Okay, I just put it in the chat. Okay, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you know what? We need to pause for a minute. I have a couple of commercials I need to play. And so let me, I'm with my mouse being as it is, I'm kind of, but anyway, let me play a couple of commercials and we'll be right back. Okay.
Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Tina J. Ramsey, and I want to share with you about CTR Media Network. Have you heard? CTR Media Network is a new standard of podcasting with over 30 plus podcasters. We reach 350 million global listeners worldwide in over 50 plus countries across all major podcasting and social media platforms. We have featured over 1,000 guests. What we specialize in is helping business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, and fellow podcasters expand their visibility on our platform. We're all about positioning with visibility, connections, and teaching you how to monetize what you do. Let me tell you something. If you're a business owner, we have sponsorships opportunities. We have commercial slots. We also have opportunities for you to be a featured guest on any of our shows. So what are you waiting for? CTR Media Network is who we are, and this is where you need to be. So go to ctrmedianetwork.com and click our store feature so that you can see which opportunity fits your life and your budget so that we can get started working with you today.
CTR Media Network. I'm proud to be a part of this network, and for the month of June, I was number 2 out of all the many podcasters that we have. And so if you are interested in looking at becoming a sponsor for my show or advertising on my show, you can go to Vera Thomas Show 1117@gmail.com and let's talk. Or you can always contribute and donate to my show by going to Cash App, Instill Great, Cash App, $ Instill Great, or PayPal and Zelle, Vera Thomas Show 1117 at gmail.com. We need your support so that we can continue to bring shows like the one we have tonight with guests like what I have with Patrice, the grandma, the gardening grandma. So again, consider becoming a sponsor or advertising on my show. Thank you. I wanted to just get that out right quick. And please like, share, and comment and subscribe to the Vera Thomas Show. Tell other people about what we're talking about right now because we're talking about the importance of teaching kids gardening as well as building their confidence, self esteem, teaching them responsibility, teaching them independence, and all the other things that my guest Patrice does with children and gardening. And we're going to get back and continue to talk about it. So, Patrice, what are some things that you would want parents to know as it relates to all of the things that you're instilling in these children and helping them to better understand nature and gardening and the impact that it has?
Well, if you want your kids to go on that trajectory of being independent, gardening is a wonderful way to foster that. And it's not the only way, of course, but it gives them that healthy activity. And, really, there's been quite a lot of concern about the amount of time that kids are on their devices.
Yes.
This is a wonderful, healthy activity that at the beginning of the show, you pique their interest and get them involved. And like we've been talking about some of the younger kids, but
Yes.
like the teenagers, the ones that are always on their devices there that,
Yes.
if you can tweak their interest and get them to the point where they're not always whining and complaining and wanting to get back on their devices, then, you can do something like that. Like it's great for sometimes teenagers, they might feel a little lonely, but if you can get them gardening and growing some real cool things, like there's these really long squashes. I forget the name right offhand, but like those large vegetables, and something really unique so that they can talk about it with their friends. And also for the parents, it's if you're in the garden with your teens or older kids, and it's great for building like communications. Like you'd be surprised some of the conversations that can come about as you're tending your little piece of earth there, and it can open up the conversation to like the broader, care for our earth and environment. And on that line of thought there, nowadays there's so much of this climate crisis and environmental crisis, and the kids can really kind of get overwhelmed sometimes, but if you can work with your kids, get them connecting with nature and start to instill that love of nature, then, and I was really fortunate because my dad instilled that love of nature in me. So I find like now, instead of feeling overwhelmed about all these crises, I let that love that I feel direct my actions. And like we've got a whole thing going on here, being I said that we live right in the forest, and they're wanting to clear cut the forest right around us. But instead of going with that negative viewpoint of fighting the lumber companies, our community, excuse me, has come together and created an eco museum for the Dumble Forest, which
Oh
is right around
my.
us. So that is like a museum without walls. And it's really positive and brought all our community together. And it was all that love that people had. The reason people are living up here, it's cold up here. It's cold. Like
Even
we have,
now?
well,
Even
no,
now?
it's summer now. But we have like 2 months of summer and 6 months of winter. So, but
Ooh.
it's that love of the forest. And so it really brought the people, like, that's why we're living here, because we love the forest. And so it was that love of nature that drove the actions there. And we think of all the different activities we could do. And it's something that, you know, we can preserve, keep the forest intact, preserve our way of life, and also preserve the historical way of life, because in this area, it was like the Métis people settled it here after the rebellion because you can live off the land here. And there was water, there's the little lakes all around here, and there was a railway. So there was like 11 different historical sites. We had the architect out there, but it's just so wonderful when you can work together with people sharing that love and all positive actions that you get excited and enthused about. And
So how is that impacting on what they want to do? Has it made a positive impact?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like we've as I say, we bought the architect out. He found 11 different sites. So the lumber company, like if there's historical sites there, they cannot cut that area. So that saved that protected that part of the government. And we're also having it declared like a heritage site, because like Canadian history, it's different than in the States there, but the Métis people played a big part in Canadian history. And after the rebellion, they were scattered throughout, like they're persecuted and scattered. And so a lot of their history, because they were so scattered, there isn't like those historical sites. So if you can preserve some of that history, and that's one of the purposes behind the Eco Museum, is to preserve that. And we've been gathering all the stories and yeah, so it's wonderful. But back to the kids. So if you can instill that love of nature in them, then instead of, you know, just showing up with placards and stuff like that, they might go say, like, you know, they've been throwing a lot of trash in the ditch. How about we just, around our community, how about we get together and spend Saturday afternoon and clean it up? Or if, you know, somebody's polluting in a waterway close to you, you know, you don't want to see the wildlife affected by that pollution or anything. So and you let that love you feel drive your actions.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So getting parents to understand how they can be engaged by being a part of the process of either gardening or dealing with the ecosystems and helping to clean up the trash. And I know there are organizations that do that on a regular basis, and they pull together families to go out and do that kind of work, which is a beautiful thing, because we must be responsible for making sure that our environment is clean, healthy, safe. And so doing it with parents as a part of it is a wonderful thing, a wonderful thing. I have another commercial right quick that I'm going to play, or a promo. So let me do this right quick and we'll be right back. 365. This is a devotional, and what she's doing is getting 365 authors together to do a day of devotion. And so she's really excited, but she still needs some more authors to be a part of this. So if you are interested, then contact Vanessa Blackwell at vrblackwell@gmail.com and get more information. Just imagine 365 days of devotion, and the devotions are all based on joy. Joy comes in the morning. So anyway, if any of you are interested, please contact Vanessa Blackwell at vrblackwell@gmail.com. And I'm going to put that also in the chat in case someone wants to get in touch with her. All right. So now we're back to you. And I have several other things that I need to share, but let's talk a little bit more and then I'll come back with that.
All right, so we've been talking about the kids connecting with nature and getting them out of cyberspace and back into the natural world. But another big thing with gardening is in this day and age, there's so much instant gratification. And one of the lessons that gardening can teach is that, like, you'll plant your seeds and you're tending them and you're tending to your garden, and then you've got to wait. So it teaches patience. And also it's well worth waiting for those garden goodies. And so that, it's worth putting in some effort, having the patience, and then you're rewarded for your efforts with those garden goodies. And it's a delayed gratification.
Yeah, so delayed gratification. And like you said, we're such an instant society, and especially with young people, they want things and they want it to happen right now. And a lot of adults are the same way. We want things to happen right now. We don't want to have to wait. We don't want to have to put in the time. And so by gardening, you are giving yourself permission to watch what you do grow and blossom and become and mature. And so it gives you patience. And so I'm going to put that in the chat. Gardening promotes patience.
And delayed gratification.
Yes, promotes patience and delayed gratification. Yes.
And
awesome.
another value that you can learn while you're gardening, like, is perseverance. Because things happen in the garden. There's the patterns of nature and sometimes up here, like, you might get an early frost that wipes it out, or hail, or your favorite pet digs out your garden plot. That's happened to me. But it teaches the kids, or adults too, that, like, to persevere and carry on and
and don't give up. Yes.
No, like, and there's always, I feel like with gardening, there's always next year too. So
yes, that's beautiful. And I just feel your passion for this, and you just light up as you're talking about it. This is wonderful. And you said your father, he was the one that kind of instilled this love for gardening.
The love of nature. Nature. See,
all right.
Yeah, it was my mom that, with Dad, he used to take us out, like gardening is a wonderful way for connecting with nature, but I encourage, like, the families to have family nature-based projects.
Yeah.
It might be like going for a walk in your neighborhood and exploring and see what little bits of wilderness that you can find. Like, often, like, you might find a dandelion that is growing through the cracks in the cement or something, or there's often a lot of wild edibles growing right around you. You don't have to live right out in the forest, but you just have to watch, if you're in the city, if there's a lot of traffic, that they're not getting polluted with the fumes. But or a fun thing is if you go exploring your neighborhood and make it like a scavenger hunt as you're doing that, and finding 3 different types of trees, or a bird, or whatever, like, and make it a scavenger hunt with the little kids. But if you can take your kids out to nature, camping, if that's a possibility, or finding those green spaces, and just enjoying the day, observing, and just taking in the wonders of nature.
And as you're saying all this, I'm typing it in because I want to give parents some ideas of some things that they can do, especially now that it's summer. Now is the
Yes.
perfect time to be out there, even though it's like 90 degrees out here right now today. But still, just being able
Early
to
morning.
enjoy, yes, early morning, enjoy nature and enjoy the beauty that's around you. That is just amazing. That's wonderful. Wonderful.
Like sunrises, sunsets, if you don't even have green spaces around you, you can always watch the sunrise and set.
Yes.
Beautiful
Yes.
moments.
Yes. Absolutely. And I do have another commercial that I need to play. So let me play this right quick.
What up, family?
That's the wrong one. Hold on a minute. Where is Mama Knows? Okay. Hold on.
Mama Knows creates high quality products that are available to be used on multiple textures of hair. Her goal is to bridge the gap to stop people from having to use multiple products because of families with multiple hair types. Her products are currently being used on men, women, children of all ethnicities. Mama Knows products are available at www.mamaknowsproducts.com. That's www.mamaknowsproducts.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Mama Knows Products because Mama knows what you need.
Mama Knows what you need. These are hair products that are for all ethnic groups. All ethnic groups. You can, and she has moisturizers, shampoos, conditioners, and all kinds of different products to help your hair. And they smell so good. I'm using them and they smell so good. So go to mamaknowsproducts.com. mamaknowsproducts.com. All right. All right. So, Patrice, I know that you're very involved in a lot of different projects. You also have a show that you do yourself. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
It's not what I do myself. It's a collaboration, the Food Circle Show.
Okay.
A wholesome feast for body, mind, heart, and soul, where we come together, be with my gardening and growing your own food and wild crafting. And we've got a nutritional biologist, nutritionalist, and chef. We've got a doctor of natural medicine. So we're bringing in all that knowledge and sharing it in the form of like the new Role Model Maker TV show will be coming out, which we will be an anchor for. So that And it's mature women sharing their wisdoms and all around food, nutrition, and not just for the, physical nutrition, but for the whole mind, body, and soul.
That's wonderful. That is Well, congratulations on becoming a part of a TV network. That is awesome. That is
Yeah.
wonderful. And I know it's going to make a difference because when you talk about health, it is body, mind, and soul. It's what we eat, it's what we put into our minds, what we put into our um the foods we eat, everything. It's a total package. And so I'm glad
Yep.
to hear that you're doing a total package body, mind, and soul experience that includes your gardening and helping people recognize how important that is. This is
Yeah.
wonderful. So there are some other, tell us some other things that you're doing.
Oh, what am I doing? Well, besides my gardening, this is my peak gardening season. I have actually 6 different gardens on my acreage.
Oh my
I've got
goodness.
I've got my covered garden, which people would kind of think of it more like a greenhouse, but there is no heat or cooling in there. It's just a covered garden. I've got my greens garden, which is close to the house for all those fresh salad pickings.
Oh,
I've got my it was my middle garden, but little plots throughout the forest. My forest food garden, or I'm just enhancing the forest, and emulating the different layers of the forest. And so one part is my food forest garden, and I do have like a large indoor garden because, as I said, we have 6 months of winter here. So I invested. We put up, like, we've got a sunroom, and I invested in some grow lights, and so I can keep growing my own food all winter long. And not only is it having that fresh, nutritious food, but up here our winters are really long, and people often suffer what's called the SAD syndrome, like seasonally
yes.
affected disorder. When
Yes.
we're not seeing the sun for a long time. So having those grow lights and being able to tend my plants and the greenery there, it just keeps me
That
going all winter long.
that's beautiful. Yes, I had a friend that suffered from that syndrome. And you could
Yeah,
even your whole countenance changes when you don't
yeah.
have that sunshine and that light. She ended up moving to Florida.
Ah,
So
she can
because
be outside all year.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. So all right, so you've got all your gardens around. I bet your area is absolutely beautiful. The nature,
it is.
just from what you're
It is.
saying, it sounds like you live
Yeah.
in an absolutely beautiful environment, which
My
also helps.
piece of my
Go ahead.
piece of paradise.
Yes, that's beautiful. I need to come visit you in the
You
summer.
do. Yes. Do
In
not
the
come in the
summer.
winter.
Oh, I wouldn't
It'll
want
be a
to.
shock.
I hate cold weather with a passion. So
Oh yeah. You
summertime,
wouldn't
maybe next
survive.
summer I'll come visit you.
Yeah.
That would be
There's a
awesome.
nas there's a national park right by us. The Prince
Oh
Albert National
my.
Park. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
So
That's awesome. It would be
yeah.
great to bring a group of kids to just check out the forest and
We'd
and
yeah, we'd go on
have,
nature walks and yeah. I
now have
I've
you
I've
done
done
that with children?
yeah. Yeah, I've with the schools there, we and it's kind of a funny, sad story, but we took it was grade sixes, and we were taking them for a hike in the forest, and then we were going to have a trail ride with like a wagon, horse pulled wagon. And we started off there, and all the kids were doing this is like, when do I want to go? When are we going home? They just wanted to get home and on their devices. to me, that was really sad, because I said, like, my dad instilled that love of nature. He used to take us on field trips and exploring all these different places. And I love to go exploring and out in nature. And I remember one incident, I was pulling all these different plants, and we had a biologist around with us on that trip. And I said, well, what is this plant? What is this plant? And one time I picked a flower and I bought it to him, and he says, where did you find it? And it was a rare plant, and I had picked it. And it was like, to me, that was a lesson that you do not harvest unless there is a group, so that you're not, that can rejuvenate itself. Like unless there's a cluster of them, you do not take one single plant.
Oh, wow.
That was lesson learned very young.
Yes. It was the only one. There weren't any others around it.
We didn't find any others. No. And he was like, he recognized that it was a rare plant. And it was like, where did you get that? Where did you find that? And it was a good lesson. It was a real good lesson. But anyway, so like, it was until finally I got them, and I started to point out the different wild edibles in the forest there. And like, there was some mint, the wild mint, the nettles, and I showed them how you can pull the strands off the nettles and braid it into like a bracelet, or you can use it, the stinging nettle, like it was teenage boys. And I said, you can use it. If somebody's bullying you, you can use that nettle to protect yourself, because it's a stinging nettle. So it was
wow.
But and the violets, they're edible. But once kids and food, that's always a good combination, growing kids and food. And that, back to the garden again, it's, if you can let them taste that fresh garden food, that then
that they
won't want to go back to the other part. It tastes so much better.
Yes, absolutely. And it's unfortunate, because we have so many kids that have no idea about nature, and because when you live in the city, it's not there. And so going into that kind of environment, it may be a little intimidating for kids, and it may make them kind of feel like, why am I here? But when you can show them the value.
That's with the I always encourage, like, start small, and you can always expand, so that you don't get overwhelmed or intimidated with it. And same with the parents. If you're taking up gardening, I encourage folks to make it like stepping stones to get to the garden that you want. So you have little projects that are like stepping stones that will take you to that garden that you want. And then if you can plan that out for each project, and then what's going to be your next step and your next step, and then that beats the overwhelm. And one hint for the garden, for the parents, like, often parents, like, it's more, they're kind of afraid to let their kids being out, exploring nature. And like, I know growing up, we used to always go exploring the ponds and out in the fields and whatever. But often, like, they're kind of afraid. But gardening, it's a safe, secure little spot. And that's a great way for exploring nature. And there's always lots going on in the garden. So another little tip is give your kids lots of time to explore in the garden and enjoy.
And I'm putting great way to explore nature and give children time to do that. Explore. Awesome. To do that. Okay. Wow. Well, we've given some tidbits and some nuggets of things that people can do, and that's awesome. I feel your passion and your love for what it is that you do. And I'm sure the kids that you work with and the parents that you work with, they can't help but feel it as well. And so, do you have any special things coming up in the near future that you can make us aware of?
Well, I would invite the folks like to go to my website, thegardeninggrandma.com, and there they can pick up the Gardening with Kids playbook and get gardening with your kids.
Oh,
It's all there. It's a step
wow.
by step. It's a step by step, and lots of projects I said about like the composting and building your own soil or sprouting, having sprouts on the counter. It tells you how to do that. Lots of how-tos. There's even some recipes in there for using all that great
And
garden
this is a
goodies.
free workbook?
Yes,
Oh,
playbook.
wow. Oh, free playbook. Okay. Which would be
Yeah,
great for
gardening.
the summer.
Yes, and lots of projects in there. Like even as you know, some people might feel, well, the summer, we're into the second week of July
Project,
here, but there's all sorts of projects in there, and
recipes, game. You have games in there as well?
not games, but projects, and it's more like the step by step how to garden with your kids. Get your kids gardening and steps so they can have some early successes, some real fun things for the kids to do, like sunflower forts, and willow tunnels, and lots of stuff.
Now, the gardening grandma, is that all lowercase?
Yeah, and make sure you put the gardeninggrandma.com.
Got
And
it.
it's right on the front page. That book, you can sign up and get it right away.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm putting it in the chat. And please go and check out the gardeninggrandma.com and get a free playbook with lots of projects, recipes, and step by step how to garden with your kids
Yes.
and steps for early successes. Check it out.
Yes.
This is summertime. This is a good time to do this stuff. So check it
Get out and in the
out.
dirt.
Get them in the dirt. Get them in the dirt.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, this has just been so wonderful. And I have a couple things I want to say about a couple events that are coming up. And then I didn't do all the commercials that I need to do, but I want to encourage you guys to consider attending the Hot Topics virtual event that is on July 29th. And you can go to Eventbrite and register. I am one of the speakers. There are quite a few speakers that are going to be giving you tips and enlightening you and helping to build your confidence and your self-esteem. And again, I am one of the speakers, and I was trying to get the link. That is, my mouse is just really messing me up right now. But anyway, you can go to Eventbrite and get the link to sign up. Here it is, finally. Okay. You can go to
There you
hottopicsspeakers.eventbrite.com/question mark AFF equals Vera. Okay. And that way she'll know you heard it on my show. And hopefully we will see you there. And I just want to say again, thank you for being here today. I really have enjoyed having you here. Let me get this thing off of here. And okay, all right. So
I
Patrice,
enjoyed it too, Vera. I loved this. I loved our discussion, and
yes,
I
and
thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're
on
welcome.
here.
And I just love what you're doing. I love your passion. And what is this? I love your passion and all the things that you are about. And I don't know how this thing got on here. My mouse is really messing me up. It really is. Let me get this off so that we can see your face again.
There we are.
All right. Well, listen, thank you. God bless you. And you enjoy the rest
You
of your
too.
summer. And I'm looking forward to you continuing to do the work. And I know we're involved in a couple of things together. So I'll be seeing
Yes.
you in those things. And again,
Yes.
God bless you. And thank you again. And to my listening audience, we will see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend and stay safe. And if you could hold on for a minute, I would appreciate it.
The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk